Hey, this is Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Today I'm going to show you how to install the Tusk High Fender Kit on the Yamaha Ténéré 700. A common problem with these adventure bikes is that they come with a low fender that's right next to that front wheel. So if you're doing any kind of serious off-road riding, what can happen is mud and debris can pack up in there and it can actually lock up that front wheel. But even worse, if it keeps going like that, it can break that front fender and possibly damage the brake lines, since the brake lines are attached to the front fender. So the solution to this is the Tusk High Fender Kit. And that's going to be a great addition to our bike. It's going to help prevent these issues, and it looks good too. So let's go ahead and get this kit installed. To do this job, we have some common hand tools, rags, safety glasses, some rubber gloves, and our Tusk brake bleeder. We also have a drain pan to catch some of this brake fluid, and since we're changing that stuff out, we have a fresh bottle of brake fluid. We have some brake cleaner if we get any fluid on our rotors. And then for any other spills, like on painted surfaces, you want to use some soapy water to clean that up. Once you've unpackaged all of your parts, you want to go through the provided set of instructions. Make sure all the hardware is there. You've got your crush washers. You'll have a mounting bracket, new brake line, and the front fender. All right, to get this high fender kit installed, what we're going to do is free up our brake line and these wires going down to our wheel speed sensor. So to do that, we have several plastic clips. We'll free those up on both sides of this line and all the way up to the top. On this lower triple clamp, we have a plug in the end of it. So I'm just going to pull out on the plug and remove it. And then we have a bracket that holds these lines in place. So I'm going to remove both of those 8mm head bolts. And now we can remove the front fender. So to get this fender off, we have 4 bolts in the front, and then we have a button head Allen on both sides. The next step is to drain the fluid from our front brake system. So what we're gonna do is place a rag over the gas tank, and that way, if we do spill some brake fluid, we're not gonna damage these plastics or the paint on them. And then we can remove the master cylinder cap, and we have this cap where it's pretty level right now. And that's what you wanna have happen on yours. And removing this cap is just going to help all the fluid drain out easily, and then we'll also need it off when we go to bleed the system. All right, so we're going to pull all this fluid out of the left caliper since this one's the furthest away from the master cylinder. So I've placed a drain pan underneath it, and we're going to pop this rubber cap off. And then we'll grab our 11mm box end wrench, and we can then connect our Tusk brake bleeder up to that. At this point, we're going to open the bleeder, and we're going to use this brake bleeder to suck all of that fluid out. All right, once all the brake fluid is sucked out, we'll close this bleeder. And remove our pump. Now that we have all the brake fluid drained out of our brake system, we'll move to the right caliper, remove the banjo bolt, and then we also have a drain pan underneath to catch any residual brake fluid. All right, now that we have the banjo bolt disconnected, we're gonna move over to the other caliper, and we're gonna bring this with us to that side. Now, we're not gonna attach anything back to this caliper at this time. We're actually gonna cross the main line over to the left side caliper. All right, over on the left side, we're gonna remove the banjo bolt and completely remove this crossover brake line. And again, I have this drip pan underneath to catch any brake fluid that spills out. All right, now that we've removed both banjo bolts, we need to install this new crossover line. So the line, it actually has two different fittings. One's at an angle, one is straight. So this angled side is gonna be on the right side caliper, and the angle is actually gonna go towards the rear of the machine. So to put this on, what we're gonna do, wipe off our sealing surface on the caliper. We'll install the new crush washers onto the banjo bolt. And then we'll go through the brake line. Now you can see as I'm installing this, the brake line as it goes up, it's pointed towards the rear of the bike. And when you put this on, make sure that the brake line is routed in front of the reflector. Now we'll go ahead, tighten the banjo bolt down, and we'll move back over to the left caliper. Next thing we'll do is grab our old brake line, the main brake line coming down from the master cylinder, and we'll take this longer banjo bolt. We'll install some new crush washers onto it. So this line is going to be at the back, and then in front of that, we're going to install our new brake line, that's the crossover. One thing I want to point out about the brake lines is that we have this straight one pressed inwards away from this bleeder nipple, and then this brake line that comes from the master cylinder, again, it's pointing towards the rear of the bike. So once the lines are routed correctly, we can go ahead and tighten down the banjo bolt. The next step is to remove the bolt that holds the back of the fork guard to its mount, and then we're actually going to install a new bolt with a spacer right there. So the new bolt, we have a washer on this side, and then this spacer we're going to install behind the fork guard and in between the mounting bracket. All right, after that we have some ties to hold down our brake lines. So what we're going to do is we'll install this bracket, and then we'll take the bolt and washer and tighten it down. This just goes where that fender was mounted. After that, we can go ahead and do the same thing with the spacer and the bracket on the other side. And then what we're going to do on this side, we're actually going to start tying these lines together. So what we're going to do is we'll put one down here a little bit closer to the caliper, where this line used to actually mount to the old fender. And then we'll also be doing one right here. And then we'll do one more tie right here, right where this line starts to bend and level out. The next step is to install our mounting bracket for the front fender. So we'll use our 4 matching longer Allen head bolts. And I'm gonna leave this back corner empty right now because we're gonna attach a bracket to that in a minute. And we'll just install this bracket to the bottom of the triple clamp. There's 4 existing holes already. All right, on the back left side of the bike, we'll install the final bolt, and we'll also be installing the bracket so the bracket eyelet faces the left side of the bike. Next, we're gonna take a zip tie and we'll go through this eyelet that we just installed, and we'll wrap it around the brake cables and that wheel speed sensor line. Then we're going to install one more zip tie right where all these cables come together. All right, next step is to install our front fender. So to do that, we're going to install our 4 M6 bolts along with the washers. The next thing we're going to do is install our block off plates where that front fender used to mount on our fork guard. So to do that, we have the 2 shorter bolts with the washers, and we'll do that on both sides. At this point, we're ready to bleed the brake system. So we're going to top off our master cylinder, and then we're going to pull all of the fluid out of the right side caliper since it's furthest from this master cylinder. And as you go through the process, you want to make sure you keep that reservoir topped off with fluid so you don't suck any air into the system. Once you have a solid stream of brake fluid coming out of this caliper, we're going to close that bleeder nipple. We'll move to the other caliper and we'll see if we get any air out of that side. You can repeat these steps as many times as you need to until there's no more air bubbles in the fluid that are coming into this brake bleeder line. Now, if you're having a ton of air bubbles and having a hard time bleeding them up, what you can do is apply some pressure to the brake handle. You're gonna have to have someone help you do that. And while they're applying the brake, you can crack this banjo bolt loose, hold a rag over it, and quickly tighten it back up. Sometimes that'll help some trapped air get out. And then the other thing, you can actually remove that other brake caliper and lift it up into the air, and that's going to help any trap bubbles at the top of the line come out. So those are some tips and tricks you can do to help get this bled up. All right, so we have solid fluid coming into our brake line. We have good fill at our brake handle. So what we're going to do now is install the rubber caps onto the nipples, and I've already gone ahead and tightened this brake bleeder down. Next, we'll top off our brake fluid, and just be sure that you don't overfill this. After that, we'll reinstall the master cylinder cap. And that's all there is to installing the Tusk High Fender Kit on your Yamaha Ténéré 700. If you need this kit or any other accessories for your Ténéré, be sure to check out our website. We have a lot of different options on there, and we offer free shipping on orders over $75. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more helpful content. Thanks for watching.